Hello Simmers and welcome to Amsterdam Airport Schiphol. We are not in a normal parking position, but we are on the eastern side of the airport, the side of the airport that consists of a major general aviation apron as well as the maintenance areas for KLM, Martinair and Transavia. It's also home to the Flight Crew Training Center, which is down here, the Operations Control Center from KLM, some other ground offices from KLM, including its medical service, etc. Some other companies, and we are parked at the little bit of the airfield that is the property of the Police Air Support Unit from the Dutch National Police. And we are parked here with the EC135 Eurocopter, and this is a Freeware add-on, the EC135v5 by RotorSim, and we're going to take a closer look at that helicopter today, take it up for a little circle over Amsterdam and attempt another landing. I'm not a very well trained professional, I'm not a professional at all, and I'm not very well trained at flying helicopters, so it's going to be challenging for me and probably a lot of fun to you to watch me fail, but we'll just see how far we'll get. As you can see, the 3D model of the EC135 looks amazing. There's also a lot of animations on this one, so you can open all the doors, for instance, and there's a lot of customizable options through the menu. If you go up here, you get the setup, so you can switch on and off the remove before flight stuff. We'll get back to that later. And if you jump inside the helicopter and you switch the setup toggle dashboard, you'll get a dashboard where you can change crew, you can change cockpit options, you can open and close doors, remove doors. There's all sorts of stuff that you can do there. You can also get rid of the remove before flight stuff. If I press here, it's gone. And there's also some other things that you can do on the interior. For instance, you can enable or disable the AVITAP, which is actually quite nice if you want to watch where you're going. And there's some other stuff. You can select bubble doors, remove back seats. If you have the Reality XP GTN 750, you can use that one. There's the option for an analog panel, all sorts of stuff. On the exterior, there's a lot of variations that you can apply, and as well as lights and antennas. There's a whole lot of stuff that you can switch on or off on this model. Now, like I mentioned, and as you can already see, the 3D modeling is excellent. There's just no other word for it. It's very, very nice rendition. The library that you're looking at was an additional download that I did from the forums over at explain.org with the library of the Dutch police. The Dutch police operates a number of these helicopters, as do many other law enforcement agencies throughout Europe and maybe even America or Canada. I'm not really sure, but at least in Europe it's used, at least in the UK. The British police uses these helicopters. In Germany, the Bundespolizei uses helicopters like this, and it's also used in a lot of countries as an air ambulance. And you can see that also in the model in here. There's room for a stretcher. There's these doors in the rear that can open to make loading and offloading patients really easy, with the tail rotor being nicely tucked away in the tail. There's no moving exterior parts, which is quite safe. So all in all, it's a helicopter that's in use by a wide variety of emergency services throughout Europe. And like I said, we're gonna make a flight over Amsterdam, or at least that's what we're gonna attempt to do. So let's just close some doors. I'll leave the pilot's door open until I've started the first engine. For the inside, there's a number of preset views that is programmed for this add-on. If you use your numpad on your keyboard, numpad 3 is this view, numpad 2. Let me just put on the helmets. Don't know why they make that awful sound. They should just get rid of it in my humble opinion, but that's just me. So numpad 2 is this view on the center pedestal. Numpad 1 for the co-pilot. Numpad 6 is an exterior view. Numpad 5, the same view on the other side. That's numpad 4, by the way. Numpad 5, that's a slight part of the overhead panel. I hardly ever use this one. Numpad 9. Numpad 8, this is the overhead view that I use most of the time, and numpad 7 is not modeled. So what we're going to do before we start up the helicopter, we have to make sure that all the switches are in the off or the norm position before we start to apply the battery. So let's just do that. This is all off. There's not much to see down here. Let's go to the overhead panel and also check for off and norm. So off, norm, norm, off, 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 normal, off, off. This is all off. All right, so we're good to go. So the first step is to start by switching on the battery, which is down there. And now you'll hear this alarm sound. Now what I've done and what I strongly advise everyone to do is at your joystick assign the CDS audio reset button. If you push that button, it will at least mute all the sounds, the alert sounds. And it is basically like pushing the master caution switch in a Boeing 737. It will just clear the warnings. What you also have to set on your joystick within reach of your thumb is the pitch and roll trim. That is very important when flying helicopters. And I'll get back to that later. What I also programmed is the aileron trim center, which is basically it just neutralizes all the trim settings. That's very important to do. All right, so we are in here. We have just pushed the battery. All the warning panels are coming online. We will wait with the avionics until we have started the engines. So for now we're good. What we have to do on the overhead is perform some system warning tests. And the first two that we're going to do is the fire extinguish warnings on the engines. And these sounds are loud. So if you are wearing headphones, make sure they're not directly over your ears. Or if you're not wearing headphones, you might want to turn down the volume of your speakers a little bit, because these sounds are actually quite loud. So here we go. First step down is just the extinguisher, and then the second down. Now you can see the fire extinguisher in there. Let's just shut it up, and we're going to do that again for the other one. So make sure to keep your ears covered. In 3, 2, 1. Checked. And cancel that warning. Alright, so these two can be back up. Now we have to do the warning unit test. There is a gong. It's not as loud, but you might want to take precautions for your ears. So here we go. It's working. Let's just cancel it with the CDS button. We can also check the displays, which is good, and this one can go back to norm. Now the hydraulic systems, we will only check those after the first engine is started, and we can leave this off for now. So what we're gonna do is, when we look at the warnings, we can see fuel pump forward and fuel pump after. We can switch the transfer pumps on. So this is aft, and that's now gone. And this is forward, that is now also gone, so that's working. So we can switch both of these off again. Switch the anti-collision light on to inform the ground crew that we're preparing the engines for startup. We'll switch the fuel prime pumps both on, and we will see the warnings in here for the prime pumps. Just cancel them with the CDS button. We will switch the FADEX systems on for both engines. You get the training, engine manual, degrade and redundancy, and they will disappear, and we'll just wait for the needles to go back to 0. There we are. And what we'll do now is we'll start up engine number 2 first. I'll always leave the door open so you can actually hear changes in engine, etc. So the way you start it is by moving this switch to the idle position. So first you check the surrounding area that there's no one and nothing there that can be hurt or damaged, and then you move the switch to idle and you watch the N1 spooling up, N2 spooling up to about 80%. The temperature will rise and to approximately just over 600 and then drop down to roughly 400 degrees, and you check that the battery voltage is okay, which it is. So just move this switch to idle. Here we go. N1 is coming online. N2 is coming online. Torque is increasing. The rotor blades are spinning. So let's close this door. The sound set on this add-on is very good, especially if you consider that it is freeware. I still can't believe it. Anyway, let's do the same. Oh no, we first have to check the hydraulic systems. So system 1, move the switch up and verify that you get the hydraulic pressure warning on the right side, and then move that switch to system 2 and you get the same warning on the left hand side. Hydraulic pressure, that is correct. Back to norm. And now we can start up engine number 2. So same drill, watch the instruments, and here we go. N1 is coming online. N2 is coming online. Temperature rising and decreasing. Torque is online. Kill the warnings with the CDS switch. Alright, so that is done. Now we can engage some other systems, so we'll switch the inverters on. We will also switch the avionics masters on. This will start self-tests on these systems. And I will also set the standby horizon to on. And it's now in the alignment mode, so we'll just let it align itself. There's nothing you have to do. It's not like a Boeing or an Airbus where you have to insert coordinates. It's just like your car GPS, it will just align itself. So the pitot static heaters can be switched on, and the transfer pumps can be switched on, the prime pumps can be switched off, position and strobe lights can be switched on. That's basically it as far as the overhead is concerned. Now we have to check the stability augmentation system. No, let's first set the engines to flight modes. And if I decouple the stability augmentation system, I will get warnings for pitch and roll and for the yaw. That's working, so now I can reapply them by this button for the yaw stability augmentation system, and this one for the pitch and roll. So that is set. Autopilot is on and off again. And let's switch the transponder on. Now I usually leave the autopilot off, and I do that on purpose because I'm still at the start of my learning curve in flying helicopters, so I really have to get used to how the aircraft responds to control inputs, what I have to do when. And when you start with using a lot of automation, you won't get the hang of that. So that's why I deliberately choose not to use the autopilot on my helicopter flights up until now. Now the barometric, the QNH, that's already set, 990. You can change it in here with this knob for the captain and this one for the first officer. The seats are reversed in a helicopter. So with all that said and done, we are actually good to go. This is the flare, by the way, forward-looking infrared. You can switch it on. You can also zoom in and out. I haven't managed to turn the camera. Oh, that's how you do it. Oh, that's nice. So the flare, it is working. I'll just switch it off for now, but it's good to know. Alright, so taking off with the helicopter. We are in flight mode. The torque is ready. Everything is clear. Now what you should be doing is increase collective, or raise the collective. That will increase the torque. When the torque is increasing, you have to apply left anti-torque pedal, and as soon as the torque reaches roughly 50%, that's when the helicopter will start to lift itself off the ground. Do that and try to hover in the position. That's what you should do in theory. I'm not good at hovering yet. It's very difficult in this sim. But it's just I just have to train that more often. I have to get more experience doing that. What I will try to do is lift it up slightly off the ground and then try to air taxi via Golf and Golf 1 to runway 22 and take off from that runway. So that's what we're going to do. Now what I have done is I have applied the collective function to one of the levers on the SciTech ProFlight throttle quadrant. So I'm gonna raise that one slightly. You will see the torque moving up, and when it moves up, the helicopter wants to turn to the right, and I have to counter that by then applying left anti-torque pedal. So let's just see how that goes. And gentle, nice and easy, that's key if you're start flying helicopters like me. Watch what happens to the aircraft and respond to it. And if you make quick or excessive movements, you won't give yourself time to respond to it. Now by raising the collective, the autopilot warning is coming online, so I just press the CDS switch to cancel that warning. And I will proceed by raising the collective, monitoring the torque in air, and watch what's happening with the helicopter by watching at the edge of the dashboard as well. I can already see it wants to move. There we go, so apply that left anti-torque pedal. Try to keep it in one place. Here we are, hand on the cyclic. And we're off the ground, slightly off the ground. So right now, what I'll try to do is air taxi in that direction. not too fast. So here we go. And cyclic a little bit forward to get some forward motion on the helicopter. Bringing it further on to the runway. And let's say that we're clear to line up on runway 22. Raise the nose slightly with the cyclic. Keep that speed under control. And then gently turning onto the runway area and say we are cleared for takeoff by ATC. So here's what we'll do, we'll just line up with the runway, push that cyclic forward and raise the collective and apply a little bit of down pitch trim. So here we go, push that nose forward, make forward speed until you are at roughly 65 knots. Raise the collective a bit further. Apply that pitch down trim. Here we are. Okay, so let's say that we're clear to make a left turn to clear the airport, fly towards the Amsterdam region. Okay, now I can neutralize my anti-torque pedal, so let's raise that collective a bit further. I want to make some more speed and altitude, so raise the nose slightly. Now what I can really feel is that the helicopter wants to tilt to the left, so I'm going to apply right roll trim. Here we go, and nose down trim, because I have to push that cyclic forward quite a bit, which is making my arms a bit tired, so let's just trim that out. Right, here we are. And let's turn left. Keep trimming that nose down. I want to stay somewhere between 700 and 900 feet, let's say roughly 800 feet. That's what I'm aiming for. But I want my forward speed to be 100 knots. So I'm going to push the nose down, raise the collective. Apply a little bit of nose trim or pitch trim down. Here we go. Nice and easy. So this is probably Bovenkerk. And pitch trim that down a little bit. Here we go. So the highway that we're coming up right now here, that's the A9. This is the city center for Amstelveen. So the police station of Amstelveen, that is down here. So let's wave at our co-workers. Let's see. I think I'm gonna fly along the Beneluxbaan, which is down here. Make a left turn heading north towards Amsterdam. mind that altitude. I want to climb slightly. So this is the Uilenstede student housing area. And this green strip is the border between Amstelveen and Amsterdam. So right now we're in Amsterdam South, with the Free University being down there. And this is the so-called South Axis, where a lot of the banks and multinationals have their headquarters. With the A10 South running from west to east. This is the Olympic Stadium that was built for the 1928 Olympics that were held in Amsterdam. But let's just make a right-hand turn, fly a bit more towards the downtown area, the inner city of Amsterdam. This is the so-called Museumplein. This is the Concertgebouw, or at least that is in that position. There is the Rijksmuseum. Now the scenery that you're looking at, by the way, is X-Europe V5. It's also freeware scenery. It works with OpenStreetMap data. So the position of buildings is correct, but the buildings don't represent anything. They don't look anything like the real houses or buildings that are in that position. So for instance, these are all the most famous Amsterdam canal houses down here. Well, they don't look like that at all. This is Dam Square with the Rokin. This is the central station, or it's supposed to be the central station. Of course, those buildings look completely different in real life, but the placement is actually very correct, and the overall shape of the building is also very nice. So let's make a left turn. And let's suppose that let's lower the collective slightly to counter that upward motion. And I also want to get rid of some speed, because let's say that the police on the ground have requested assistance from the air. So we'll just have to see that we can hover over downtown Amsterdam for a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the cyclic towards me, lower the collective, try to maintain that 800 feet and get the speed out of here. So raise the nose, lower the collective, keep raising the nose, pitch trim up, roll trim left slightly. Try to keep that 800 feet, so raise the nose. Alright, so now what I'm doing right now is raise the nose further, pitch trim up. Getting rid of the speed and raising the collective to counter that negative vertical speed. Want to keep that around roughly at 0. Now I have to raise the collective quite a bit. We need a lot of torque to maintain our position here. A lot of anti-torque pedal. So here we are quite stable over the inner city of Amsterdam. Let me just switch on the camera. It's actually quite fun that it is possible to do this with that camera. Oh, we are descending, by the way. Let's focus on flying. Collective, collective, collective. Now I want to put in a lot of collective to gain altitude. Okay, let's say that they caught the bad guy on the ground, and let's pitch trim forward. Oh. And let's gain speed and altitude. So collective down, let's lower, or cyclic forward, sorry. Pitch trim down and lower the collective. Still not as smooth as it is supposed to be, but we're getting there. Oh. Pitch trim up, and here we are. 750 feet, 85 knots. So let's increase torque, lower the nose, and increase the speed by doing so. And let's continue to fly back to the south. I think this is roughly south. No, it is not. Further to the left. So we're going straight back to Amsterdam South. Straight and level, 100 knots at 800 feet. That is what we're looking for. So what we're going to do is we'll fly back to the airport. So I'm gonna fly until we are here, then turn right and fly across the water that you can see at our 1 o'clock. That is the Bosbaan, which is a rowing track in the Amsterdam forest. And we're gonna follow that, and that will bring us at an angle for runway 22. Making a left-hand turn will be on final. So raise the nose slightly for the altitude. Here we go. So now is the most challenging part of flying helicopters, and that's landing them. I really am not good at doing just that, so I'm very scared at what's going to happen. Anything other than a crash is improvement. So let's just go. Even if it's a hard landing, I will be very much satisfied with it. So let's already slow down. So raise the nose and lower the collective. Make sure we're getting rid of some speed. I can see the runway at my 11 o'clock. So raise the nose, lower collective. I can descend slightly, not too fast. So bit pitch up trim, lower that collective, raise the nose, get rid of that speed. 80 knots is roughly the approach speed. So this in itself looks quite good. I'm trying to land on runway 22. anywhere on that runway with something else than a crash is a successful landing and improvement. So let's just see how this goes. So raise the nose. Okay, now we've got to raise the collective to counter that massive negative vertical speed. If I can keep this rate of descent, I'll settle for it. Oh, now we're going up again, so slightly, ever so slightly lower the collective. We're climbing. I don't want to climb, I want to descend. Raise the collective, 300 feet per minute, 400 feet per minute, that's too fast. Flying backwards, that's not what we are supposed to do. So butter! Ha! That's a first. Alright. Ooh, that is intense. Alright, so let's neutralize the trim controls. Whoa. Alright, so this is still not good enough because you have to be capable of coming in completely stabilized and then just put it down anywhere you want. This was more luck than wisdom. But it's a start, it's something else than a crash. So I'm happy with this. So what I'm trying to do, without trying to become overconfident, that is air taxi off the runway and back to the parking lot. Let's just see how that works. And whilst trying to do that, I will give you my thoughts on this add-on. Since it's freeware, I think you really should download it. If you want to experiment with helicopters, this is a really nice add-on to do so. So really, it's freeware. It won't hurt you. So just download it, install it, and just try it. Set up a joystick for your cyclic. Set up a collective using how do you call it? I used the throttle quadrant. So here we go, air taxi. I want to look slightly up. I want to see our horizon, and I don't want to go too fast. And just experiment with flying helicopters. It's a lot of fun. It's very challenging. But if you start to master it, it is a very nice way of exploring scenery. Oh. Now I should go over the center line. That's not working. Still not capable of doing that, but still very pleased with myself that I'm managing this already. And it's a very, very good exercise to train your muscle memory and to train yourself in making very, very small control inputs, because the minute you go through the roof with your inputs, you will lose the helicopter. And right now I want to lower my collective and raise the nose because I want to lose some speed. It's way too fast for my liking. Okay, if I can manage to put it on the H that's here on the tarmac, I'm quite pleased for today. So let's raise the nose. And there we are. Voila. Well, almost. I'll settle for this. Alright, so I hope you liked the video. Let's just take a look at that landing. And well, like I said, I can recommend this this helicopter to everyone who wants to try flying helicopters. This is payware quality. I own a couple of payware quality, or I own some payware add-on helicopters, and this one is just as good, and it's completely for free. And giving the purpose that the helicopter is used for in real life, police and air ambulance duties, it's you can apply a wide spread of flights, purposes, goals when flying this thing. So let's just take a look. Well, of course. It looked like I had a tail strike. Let's just... No, it's not. This is quite good, actually. I'm amazed by myself. If you consider that I've only been flying this helicopter for like 3 days. Tells you something about the amount of ease it is to fly, actually. But like I said, it all comes down to having good controls. And first I used the Wingman, the Logitech Attack 3, and that's a very light joystick. So when I used that for the cyclic, it was just too light. I couldn't make controlled inputs. But now that I switched to the Cougar, the Thrustmaster HOTAS Cougar joystick, which is basically an F-16 stick, but that doesn't really matter. It's much heavier, and there's a lot of drag when you want to move it. It moves heavy, so that makes it easy to make very precise control inputs, and that's what you need when you're flying helicopters. So hope you liked the video. Give it a try. I will include the download link in the description of the video, as well as the link for the police livery that I'm using, and the ex-Europe scenery that I was flying over. So hope you like it. If you have any tips, tricks, comments, questions whatsoever, please leave them in a respectful manner in the description of the video, in the comment section. And hope to see you again on another video, and until that time, please stay healthy and stay safe. Thank you for watching, and bye bye.